Good day, my friends. I'm glad you're here. Mrs. Lincoln and I wish to extend our heartfelt thanks to you and the many other friends throughout the country who have offered their condolences and sympathy over the loss of our son William last week. Our other son, Ted, is decidedly better today. Well, the news that has electrified the country is the successive Western victories at Forts Henry and Donelson. Public joy seems unbounded. Even Congressman Muriel, who has not been particularly happy over the Legal Tender Act, seems utterly jubilant. He believes we can close this war by the 30th day of July next. The capture of Fort Henry has opened an avenue for Union forces to invade the border of Alabama as far south as Muscle Shoals. The capture of Fort Donelson has secured most of Tennessee and all of Kentucky. Thanks be to God. Of note in these proceedings has been the use of several ironclad ships, something of a novelty for naval warfare in this country. It was only last August that legislation was passed authorizing construction of these new vessels. Notification was made in the newspapers that there would be a naval contract awarded for the best design. Once that design was decided upon by the Naval Ironclad Board, construction of the vessel proceeded with amazing rapidity. Various components were forged in 8 separate foundries. Construction was completed in 118 days. Workers employed around the clock. And then on the 30th day of January last, a revolutionary new ironclad christened the Monitor was launched from Brooklyn, New York into the East River. Also, another victory for the country was gained the day after the capture of Fort Henry on Roanoke Island off the coast of North Carolina. It was a joint effort of the Army and the Navy. General Burnside, Commodore Goldsborough were in charge. We now have national forces on the soil of North Carolina. And events beyond the Mississippi were also favorable to the Union in February. On the 18th, General Halleck telegraphed the Secretary of War, "General Curtis has driven General Sterling Price from Missouri and is several miles across the Arkansas line, cutting up Price's army, hourly capturing prisoners and stores." The flag of the Union is floating in Arkansas. These victories coming simultaneously produces the profound effect throughout the states that we will see the end of this war and the restoration of the Union before the close of the year. I do wish it to be known, however, that the execution of Captain Nathaniel Gordon this month was unrelated to the rebellion, but in accordance with United States privacy law of 1820. He was captured in August of 1860 at sea, some 50 miles off the coast of West Africa, with nearly 300 adults and over 500 African children captive on his ship. He was indicted, tried, and convicted last November for engaging in the slave trade and hanged on February 21st. Finally, on the subject of the controversial passage in Congress this month of the Legal Tender Act on February 25th, both proponents and opponents agreed that the act itself is constitutional. But they also agreed that historically the issuing of money such as this, irredeemable promissory notes with no intrinsic value, is bound to result in excessive issue, redundancy, and ultimately depreciation. The act is passed on a temporary emergency basis out of war necessity. The bill's sponsor, Congressman Spaulding of New York, believes that without this measure, the national government will not be able to pay its bills in 30 days. Treasury Secretary Chase concurs. The new notes, though irredeemable in coin, are exchangeable for interest-bearing notes, 20-year bonds at 6%. In the annual message to Congress last December, I thought it fit to say, the Union must be preserved, and hence all indispensable means must be employed. I said this not hastily, but deliberately. And so, with continued reliance and even more firm upon providence, let us go forward in this work which events have devolved upon us. Thank you.